Media Week.
Hello, thanks for joining us. Ahead, Nine's 2012 program plans. Will it keep the bankers at bay, and what do advertisers think? We'll be speaking with Mediacom's Gemma Newland. APN closes some regional titles and insists it's not selling out of outdoor. Plus, while circulations fall and paywalls go up elsewhere, how are suburban newspapers faring? News Local boss John Webster will be joining us. But first though, Southern Cross Austereo star Carl Sandilands has apologised to a female journalist that he verbally abused over a critique of his new TV show. But will that be enough to bring back the advertisers, Holden and the Good Guys among the companies who pulled their sponsorship of his Today FM radio show? Well, for more on this, our co-host James Manning, the editor and publisher of Mediaweek, is here. James, have we heard anything yet from Southern Cross Austereo yet?
No, they haven't made any comment. I don't think we will be hearing from them because they've sort of been through, if you like, similar sort of media storms before, and they've sort of sat tight, wait till it cooled down a bit, then if there's some action to be taken, they'll sort of do it then. We're very close to the end of the radio ratings year, especially only a week to go, so I wouldn't expect much to be happen, I don't think.
Let's just have a little bit of a listen to some of Carl Sandilands' comments in regards to that verbal abuse of that female journalist.
Some fat slag on Telegraph website, news.com.au, has already branded it a disaster.
A disaster?
You can tell by reading the article she just hates us and always hated us, and she trawled through the Twitter comments and pulled out all the bad comments and ran them all. What a fat bitter thing you are. You're deputy editor of an online thing. That's enough. You got a nothing job anyway. You're a bullshit artist, girl. That's what you are. You should be fired from your job. And your hair. Your hair's very 90s.
Oh, they put a picture of her?
Yeah. So, unsurprisingly, sponsors are pretty unhappy with that. We've had Holden, Good Guys, Vodafone, Fantastic Furniture, a number of the sponsors pulling their advertising from his top-rating show. Any idea how much this is going to be costing Southern Cross Austereo?
No, it's certainly not good news for the broadcaster. Holden's sort of the one who's come out with a sort of a proper statement about what they're doing. I think Good Guys have just heard a tweet, and then I'm not sure sort of the status of the other advertisers that are being mentioned. There's certainly no sort of detail of how much they're, pulling back, whether it's long term, whether it's short term, whether it's just sort of they've lodged a protest. But you can bet there's a whole lot of talking going on behind the scenes. Management would be out there speaking with the advertisers, the advertisers would be getting their feedback. I'm sure Southern Cross Austereo's listening very carefully to what those advertisers have to say, and then there'll be sort of a discourse between the two, I guess. Could
you see there being any punishment of Carl Sandilands? I mean, it's not the first time that he's done this, obviously.
I guess I think it's unlikely, but I mean, these things sort of the comments were made on Tuesday morning. Not a lot happened on Tuesday, then it sort of really took off on Wednesday. We're getting through the week. I'm not sure how much life this is going to, keep up. You can't really behave like this on air anymore. I mean, Kyle's sort of done this sort of stuff before. Just where it'll go from here, it's a bit hard to tell.
And the future of the TV show that he was so unhappy with the review about? I mean,
I don't think that his commentary will have really an effect on what happens to that TV show. I think that'll be judged by the ratings. The ratings weren't great, so you're not going to see that program again.
All right, let's just move on now. And the Leveson inquiry in the UK into press standards following the news of the world phone hacking scandal has been hearing from more victims. Well, for more on this, James, we saw the actor Hugh Grant giving testimony and naming some other newspapers as well. What did he have to say? Yeah,
he said, look, judging, he went through, he gave quite an interesting insight into sort of how he lives and how he deals with the press and they deal with him. And he read out some stories where he said, I think there was one in the Mirror, there was one in the Mail on Sunday, to big selling UK tabloids, and he said, look, for the detail in those stories, they would have had to have some information that would have come from perhaps our listening to the phone, getting into our messages.
We've also seen James Murdoch now resign as director of The Sun and The Times. Does this mean that news might be pulling out of its British newspapers?
Well, I think that'd be a long bow to draw just from that, Yeah, no, I don't think so. I mean, there's a bit of further agitation to get him off some of the other boards in the UK. Like there's the B Sky B, their AGM, I think, is next week. There's a bit of movement amongst UK, some MPs trying to lobby to get him sort of voted off that board. But the news said this week, look, he's still going to stay on the overall News International board, and we don't expect that to change.
Now, the Australian arm of News Corp as well, News Limited, denying this week allegations by former Senator Bill O'Chee as well over improper conduct. What happened here? It's obviously been denied by John Hartigan.
Yeah, and it dates back to a lunch back in 1988, I think, with Malcolm Colles, who was an executive at the time. He was discussing, Senator O'Chee apparently thinks it was an improper sort of offer that was made. News Limited says, look, all we were doing was offering some editorial space in our newspapers to put forward his case. There was a miscommunication, so how far, whether they're supposed to be under investigation, the allegations, so whether we'll see that go much further, I'm not sure.
Now, News Magazines has had a rebranding. What's prompted this?
Yeah, they're calling themselves News Life Media now. It's basically a better description of their business model, if you like. We've had them in a few times on the show to talk about what they do. Very big in food magazines, of course, things like, what have we got, MasterChef magazine, Donna Hay, Delicious, things like that. But they also have a lot of digital platforms. They have Taste, for example, which is an umbrella sort of online offering which covers all their food magazines and things like that they generate a lot of revenue for, and they want to be known for that as well as the magazines.
Now, not great news for the newspaper industry in Australia this week, with APN closing some of its regional publications. Yeah,
it was sort of more like if their presence just on the sort of northern New South Wales coast, on the Gold Coast. They had a few titles that there was the Daily News up there, which was every day of the weekend, I think a Saturday edition. They're stopping the weekday edition. They'll keep up the weekend. Have a paper at Coffs Harbour, which I think had a mixed free editions, a couple editions they had a low cover price. They're going to do away with the papers they're selling, concentrate on the frees. They think it's just a way of reaching a bigger readership. They thought they had, a smaller print readership with a bigger digital readership, and they think they can better serve all their readers and their advertisers by focusing on that.
All right, thanks for that, James. Well, just staying with that story, is this a bearish sign for the Australian newspaper industry? Well, News Local publishes 22 community newspapers across Sydney and the New South Wales Central Coast. It used to be known as Cumberland Courier Newspapers. The General Manager of News Local, John Webster, joins us now. John, thanks so much for your time. Just firstly, I hate to ask you about the negative stuff first, but obviously we did see APN closing some of those papers, or partially closing some of them. What do you make of this? I mean, is it pretty tough out there for publishers at the moment?
Well, certainly the environment's not as strong as we'd like it to be. Consumer confidence is down, and none of us are immune from that. But even if times were good, you would still possibly have titles that were not out travelling as well as they might, and then people in this climate are starting to explore digital options. But as for that being a trend across the business, I'm certainly not seeing it in my business. We're not having no plans to close any papers, and we've just gone through a very extensive rejuvenation to give them a much higher profile and a better attraction for our readers and our clients.
Yeah, so you've changed your name, you've brought in that News Local title. It's sort of quite, it's quite prominent on the mastheads of your papers, so it's important for you to offer that sort of group strength? Or?
Well, there's a number of reasons for it. One is that it defines more clearly what we are. Cumberland and Courier was an amalgamation of the companies that were post our acquisition of the Courier titles in 2007. It's a bit cumbersome, but it didn't mean a lot to a lot of people either. We believe News Local it says who we are and what we do, and it's a very clear connection. And also it gives us an opportunity to make a better proposition to national sales clients who can then consider the News Local network in Sydney. We of course are retaining the mastheads, as in the case of the Wentworth Courier, for the connection that has with the readers who value that.
Now, we've just been seeing some vision of the Project Local campaign, and obviously that was tied to the website, a specific website for that campaign as well, and that's ongoing. How important, I guess, is digital to your part of the newspaper space?
Well, in this case, what we're doing is wrapping an opportunity to connect much more strongly with our communities around our newsprint rebranding. And so Project Local is an important part of reaching out to the community, offering them some grants that can get small things fixed around their neighbourhoods to make a difference in their lives. We created a website to facilitate that because obviously it's the easiest way for people to offer the ideas for the projects and also for them to vote. So that's a logical extension of digital to us. As for digital in the broader sense, we've been concentrating in the last 18 months on reinvigorating our print products because of all the readership surveys we did. I mean, there's more than 2,000 people we spoke to. 78% of them said they prefer us in print. They read us at home, they read us in their leisure time. So we've got the strongest possible argument we can make to advertisers on the back of all that, and we need to leverage it and give it the best bang we can. And then we look forward to how we can enhance that with digital as we go forward into 2012.
All the talk of sort of metro major newspapers about paywalls, how they can maybe monetise what they do online. You have free newspapers. Does that mean you haven't really looked at that?
Well, as I said, we have free newspapers, so the concept of selling free content needs some careful thought. Our priority, though, has been to protect the revenues we do have. They're very strong. We want to make them stronger. We want to make the connections stronger. As for paywalls, ultimately we'll look at those as well, but we have to consider what our offering could be that people would want to pay for.
What ad sectors have been the most robust for you this year and the ones, I guess, that haven't been as robust?
Retail's been a little underdone. That's a consumer confidence thing, and you only have to look at any of the retail reports around that. Real estate, is one of our key pillars, and that's been quite strong for us. Surprisingly, we put a lot of effort late last year into our trades and services sector, which is the good old community stream of classifieds around plumbers and electricians and basic things that people want to fix things around the home. And we've been very pleased that the effort we put in with some marketing and some promotion has been able to stem the decline in that. It's been part of that leakage of classifieds to the internet, but in this case we've been able to stop that decline and we're holding our own at the moment. So we're hoping to do more and then maybe reverse that trend a bit and grow it.
Yeah, you mentioned real estate. I mean, how have you been able to hang on to that? Because obviously a lot of people look online as well. Is it you've been able to offer some sort of combination offering there for you?
Well, mostly it's still in print at the moment. Obviously, REA is part of the News Limited portfolio, so that digital offering is served there. From our point of view, how eye candy, I guess, for real estate is in part the way people refer to some of the more desirable properties within Sydney. But it's also, I think, helps capture the opportunistic buyer. For real estate websites, are very handy for searching out opportunities, but you need to be wanting to do it. I think real estate vendors and agents are still keen to have people think, oh, maybe I should look into changing a house, moving house, etc. And some of the properties in our Wentworth Courier, for example, are pretty stunning. And they look fantastic in print.
It's still an important part of the offering then for agents. They think it's important to have a print as well as other presence.
Absolutely. There are obviously differences of opinion, but the key agents, the one that are there for the long haul and are most successful, are the ones who absolutely understand that you have to leverage print and perhaps online to get the best result for your clients.
John, it's been great to talk to you today. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
John Webster there from News Local.